Yo, what's up, family? Before we start the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share the end and everyone you can, just so we can get out there a little bit more. With that being said, let's get right into it, man. The Celtics lose their second straight game in TD Garden with a 111-105 loss to the Miami Heat. There's so much shit that went wrong. The Celtics, I don't think they played horribly, but there's things that I'm going to talk about with the players and coaching. It's just a lot of things that they could have done better. But first I want to start off by giving props to this Heat team. People, even me, were like, how the fuck did they get this far? And the talent that the Celtics have are just going to overpower this shit. I knew the series wasn't going to be easy. I still have the Celtics coming out on top, but it's just like, it's hard to have confidence when you see how much better the Heat players are at certain things. Of course, I think the Celtics have better pure basketball players than the Heat, but are they tougher mentally? The ability to be locked in for a whole 48 minutes, no matter what the score is a talent, bro. Heat were down double digits in the fourth quarter in back-to-back games. It's a talent to get up that far, but I think it's an even greater talent to stay the same no matter what the score is. Because if the Celtics possess that talent of staying the same no matter what the score is, who will be up 2-0 right now? This is not a new thing. This has been a thing since last postseason and years before this. When the Celtics get comfortable, you can tell they're comfortable because they stop doing what they did to get up. Smart just said this in last post game. He said, sometimes we get bored with doing the little things. How are we still at this point in the season, and with guys like Tatum, Brown, and Smart who've been together their entire careers? How are we still at the point where Smart is saying, yeah, we didn't do the little things to win? Brown's coming out and saying we got to come out with some more intensity. What are you, bro? This is the biggest stage you've been in this season. How is intensity an issue? Now, I didn't think intensity was an issue in this game. It's just the Heat players, they never fold and they never quit. It literally does not matter what the score is. They're locked in on details. Yes, they're gonna get beat. Yes, they're gonna get scored on. Yes, they're gonna miss shots. But again, something that Shaq said after game one, again, I have never agreed with anything Shaq has said basketball wise until he said this. He said the Heat play the same way every single game. It doesn't matter who's on the court. It doesn't matter what's going on the court. They play the same grimy, rugged, and smart basketball every single game. But that's not always the case with the Celtics. And a theme that's been prevalent with the Celtics ever since 2 seasons ago, and it's still here, is that they just have to have a stretch where they play like children. In every single game, it doesn't matter how good they play before it happens. They have to have a stretch. It can range from 2 plays to a whole quarter like it did in game 1. They have to have a stretch where they play like children. They forget what they did to be in the position that they were in. Being able to be locked into a basketball game and stay the course and play the same way for 48 minutes is a talent. The Heat have that, but the little shit gets you to win. I want to give praise to Caleb Martin. Jimmy's gonna get majority of the praise, especially after the Grant stuff. I'll talk about that, of course, but Caleb Martin won them this game. It's just like Kyle Lowry in the first half of last game where he kept them close. He had like 13 points in the second quarter, but this was to a much greater extent. Caleb Martin scored 25 points. Caleb Martin scored 25 points, bro. Bam had 22, 17, and 9. He didn't shoot great, but that rebound he had with about 50 seconds left to put them up 5 was huge. That putback. And just like the Celtics did so many things wrong, and we'll get to it now. I don't even know where the fuck to start off at, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Again, a thing that Joe wanted the Celtics to do was to shoot and hit more threes. Eric Spoelstra said in a timeout when he was mic'd up that we just have to stop them from shooting threes. They can't beat us. If you just stop the 3 like I told you to, this team can't beat us. And he's fucking right. And it's crazy, but he's right. We made 10 threes this game. I think we made either 9 or 10 threes last game. That's not how this team is made to win. Yes, they can win some ugly games, but more often than not, this team has to have a high 3-point differential to win. And these first 2 games, the Heat are not allowing them to do that. Tatum had a great game, 34, 13, and 8. Yes, he didn't make a field goal, but that's not to say he wasn't effective. And he still scored. Again, I tweeted this. It's so easy to see who just wants to run with narratives and who just wants to look at the numbers. People see Tatum didn't score a field goal, which is a stat on there, but 1, it doesn't show how many times he got tripled and double teamed, and 1, if you're going to look at the numbers, look at them. Tatum did score, bro. Like, you are trying to exclude the fact that he didn't hit a field goal but not going to put his points. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me. But yes, I would like him to score because he's our main scorer and he's our superstar player. But if you watch the game, the opportunities for team to take shots is so scarce against a team that's doubling and tripling him. And this is where this next point comes into. Jaylen Brown had 16 points and was 7 for 23 from the field. These first 2 games, Jaylen Brown has been wildly inefficient, which is not like him. He's usually one of the more efficient and deliberate scorers in our game. But the help defense that the Heat play, just like last postseason, has gotten to him. He has trouble deciphering when to attack and where to attack. He sprinted down the court with a 1-on-4 with his teammates wide open and he shot the ball. I knew the game was over. Fuck the Jimmy and Grant shit. I'll talk about that. I have a lot to say about that. But when Jaylen Brown got the rebound and ran up the court 1-on-4 and didn't pass the ball, I knew exactly where his head was at, and it wasn't to win that game. Because that shit you don't do. And he did it again later. He just sprinted down, took a horrible shot, came back down. I knew where his head was at. Caleb Martin outplayed Jaylen Brown. That's where we lost the fucking game at. He has to be better. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's not the only reason, but he is the biggest reason why we lost this game. He cannot go 7 for 23 being guarded by Gabe Vincent and fucking Strus. You have to be the efficient Jaylen Brown, the one that scored 27 points on about 50% shooting. We need that shit. We need you to play how Caleb just played. Yes, y'all not being defended the same, but you've been defended the same way you're going to be defended for the last 5 years. And you figured the shit out. You got to figure this shit out. And Rob, Brogdon, and White, this will ties right into Joe Mazzulla. I just want to start this off by saying Joe Mazzulla is not the reason the Celtics lost. Just because I say something he did wrong does not mean I'm blaming the fucking game on him. Does anybody know the idea of a pie chart? A pie chart is something that's circled and it has percentages of things inside of it that make that pie chart whole. Percentages and slices that make up that 100%. My pie chart of blame, whenever the Celtics play, is almost every time 80 to 90% players. The blame pie for me is almost overwhelmingly for the players. But every time somebody says something that Joe Mazzulla could have did better, they are like, isn't that the players of Joe Mazzulla? We know that. But he also is not perfect, and we're pointing that out. This game, Joe Mazzulla was 15% of that fucking blame. Robert Williams played amazingly in his minutes, bruh. Amazing. These first 2 games, he has been amazing on offense, which is something we were not expecting to see. The first game, he was bad defensively. This game, he started contesting jump shots, which made him his regular great self on the defensive side too. So if he's great on both sides of the ball, you start him, which means you might like something of him because he's starting. Then you don't close with him when clearly Al Horford is not the better big at this point. I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, I would like to think the point or the theory of Al Horford playing is so that you can have 5 guys that can shoot the ball. Al Horford's not shooting the ball. Who closes should not be predetermined before the game. Who closes should be your eye test for the first 40 minutes of the game. You shouldn't have a predetermined notion of who's going to close the game before closing time, bruh. That's not how coaching works, bruh. If Smart is playing horribly, which he was, if Al Horford is playing horribly, which he was, and Rob and White are playing better than them, clearly it's not close. I would understand if Smart and Al on a scale of 10 were playing at like a 7, and Rob and Derek White were playing at like an 8. If it's close, go with your guys. That's cool with me. It wasn't close this game, bro. It wasn't close. Rob was clearly the best big on the floor. White and Brogdon were playing better than Marcus Smart. That's just how it is. And it's not easy for a first-year coach to be pulling his leaders, Smart and Al, down the stretch. But Joe has to get a pulse of that shit. There was absolutely no reason this night that Al and Smart should have closed the game over Rob and White. And you could see it happening because he started the fourth quarter with Rob. I was like, there's no way in hell Rob's playing the whole 12 minutes. So I knew it was going to happen. Derek White came in early in the fourth, and I knew he wasn't going to fucking close. And the shit that hurt me was down the stretch, everybody knew Al didn't have it and Rob should have came in. Joe put him in with 50 seconds left. The damage has been done now, brother. you should have like, I heard something on Garden Report, and it's like, I didn't really think of it before they said it, and it's like, every adjustment Joe does is delayed. Like, it's 5 minutes late. He finally played Grant, which he should have played him in game 1, delayed adjustment. And then Grant, you got great minutes out of Grant, and then I felt like you played him too long. Then he finally took him out. Grant was in the game with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, but Rob wasn't, or White wasn't. Delayed adjustment, you took him out too late. Rob didn't close in the fourth quarter, but then he puts him in with 50 seconds left. Delayed adjustment. Joe Mazzulla is 10% of the Celtics losing, bro. He is not the main problem at all. But a coach's job is to do whatever he can to give his players a fucking advantage. And if he didn't do that, I'm going to say something about it. That doesn't mean what he did is more important than what the players did. The internet and people on the internet have a very tough time understanding that two things can be true at the same time. Just because Joe is doing a horrible job, that doesn't automatically mean that Jalen isn't. That means both of them are. Just because I said something about Joe, that doesn't mean what he did is over Jalen. Two things can be true at the same time. They both had horrible games, but Jalen is at fault more because he's actually on the fucking floor. He comes into the game so prepared that he's over prepared, and it causes him to just stick with his game plan even when he sees on the court the shit isn't working. You have to change by the feel. The feel of the game is so important. It's underrated as shit, bro. You have to have a feel for the game. Players especially, but the coach too. There's nobody who watched that game and said, oh yeah, Al should be closing. Yeah. Nobody did that. And it's the fact that Joe makes the adjustments delayed is that, okay, he's there. Like, he sees the shit, but he just has a reluctance to do it. We got to get that shit on the wraps. And the last thing, the Grant poking Jimmy thing. Fuck out of here, bro. People was on the internet acting like Jimmy was about to lay down, but as soon as Grant talks, he like, oh, I'm not going to quit no more. I'm about to play. It's Jimmy Butler. Yes, it's cool to say that fueled him. And like, okay, I got you. It's okay to say that. But people was actually like, oh, Grant's so fucking stupid. Why would he do that? The problem I have is, why is Grant the only one that has the balls to say something to Jimmy? In 2 years, last season, this season, nobody, and I mean nobody, has got into Jimmy's face like that. Grant's the only one to do it. Why is your 8th, 7th best player the only one that can do that to Jimmy, bro? That should say something, bro. I don't have a problem with Grant giving the Celtics the energy they desperately needed and getting into the other team's best player's face. Because if he gets a technical and Grant gets a technical, that's an advantage for us. He's more important to them than Grant is to us. Grant should have never been a DNP CD, bro. I am on the bandwagon that thinks Grant is not a $20 million player. I am on the bandwagon that thinks 17 to 20 million for Grant Williams is too much. You look at the players we have on the fucking roster, guys like Brogdon, White, Rob, we still gonna have to pay Jalen. The 7-man rotation is already expensive. But I am not on the bandwagon that Grant shouldn't play basketball games, bruh. He's good enough to play in the NBA. He proved that last season in the playoffs. And he should have already had that leash to at least play 10 minutes in a playoff, in every playoff game. Go back to Joe. Premeditated notions, bro. He goes into games and it's like, oh yeah, Grant's not playing. So even if that idea was completely warranted for the last game that they played, and he was like, okay, Grant did bad this game, so the next game I'm not gonna play him. That could have been completely true. Grant was probably bad that last game, or he saw that Grant wasn't needed that last game. That could be completely true, but that doesn't mean you come into the next game already knowing Grant's not gonna play. That is a shit that can get you burned, and it's got us burned these first 2 games. On top of coaching, Jaylen Brown cannot be getting outplayed by Caleb Martin. He has to be efficient. Tatum has to be more aggressive when he's not getting tripled and double teamed in the fourth quarter. Rob just has to be on the fucking court because he played amazing. Derek White has to be on the court. Smart has to play better, because if Smart and Al play better, we wouldn't have this problem. And that is why the players are always getting more of the blame pie to me than a coach would, because the coach wouldn't have to make those decisions if the normal players would just fucking play good. But again, two things can be true at the same time. They both can be to blame. Not everybody, especially the role players, not every role player is gonna play great every single game. Smart is not gonna play good every single game. Al's not gonna play good every single game. But by his premeditated closing lineups, that's what he's saying. He's saying, okay, no matter what they did the previous 3 quarters, no matter what they did at the start of the 4th quarter, I trust them to close, and that's just not how it should be. But if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share it out to whoever you want to. I would appreciate it. Game 3, must win for the Celtics, and I won't say it's a must win for the Heat, but they have to understand that they didn't do anything yet. 2-0 is not an insurmountable deficit. The Celtics can easily come back and get 2 on the road because they've been a much better road team. I have no doubt that the Heat are going to come out to play. I do have doubts that the Celtics are, but their backs are against the wall. They haven't folded a lot with their backs against the wall, so I'm excited to see how they play. And again, this is Nick. Peace.